welcome to episode 2 of Outside the Coach's Box. It is November 3rd, right? November 3rd?
It is.
November 3rd?
November
Nice,
3rd.
we're officially in November. I guess first thing to go over, Halloween came and gone. That's nice. So we're into November, and if you listened this far, you noticed that the ticket noise is gone. We've discovered the what is it? We've discovered the mystery of the clicking noise. You have no idea what I'm referencing, do you?
I don't, but I honestly thought it was a Ghost of Halloween Pass. So
It's what I was referencing was a great old YouTube video. It was like a Harry Potter one where like there was this ticking noise and these finger puppets would come on, and it started with Snape and it'd be like Snape, Snape, Severus Snape, and then it was like to this ticking noise, and then like Dumbledore would come on, Dumbledore. It was like the best thing ever. And at the very end, Ron, I think it was Ron or Harry Potter, I forget, after like they went through like all their characters, like I've discovered the sound of the mysterious ticking noise, and it was a bomb. So yeah, that was not the case here. Voldemort's not going to come out and say Voldemort. No, we figured it out. We are, like I said, recording together now. So that's step one. We're getting this thing together slowly but surely.
one step at a time.
Yeah, exactly. So I started off by talking about we're into November now. You know, Halloween came and gone. It was fun. World Series came and gone. That was fun. You know, we did one episode of World Series done. Might have jinxed the Arizona Diamondbacks, but we'll get to that in a sec. We're working off of one phone of notes too, because we're using my phone to record the video, which again will be on YouTube. And I didn't really emphasize enough, we have a YouTube channel and we have an Instagram account. So if you are listening, go follow both, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll remind you at the end of the episode. Did you shake your head when I said that?
No, I just looked down.
I thought like the old man was like social media.
I'm all right with social media in doses.
Fair enough, yeah. And since we're trying to have fun with this, might as well give a wide array of options to those who are looking to watch or listen, or have 5-second clips to watch. I don't know, whatever. We're not going to be on TikTok, I can guarantee you that. But Instagram and YouTube, we will definitely be on. So yeah, let's get into our first news segment of the week, and then we can get into more specifics about sports and everything. But I want to start off with we're going to do a theft of the week every so once in a while. I think that's relevant, because you have theft, whether it's an interception or
base stealing, no more.
Yeah, baseball's over, but yeah, stealing and basketball, which will be huge. But it's going to be a wide variety of things, and we'll go to my notes here. I'm going to give you options. I'm also going to put it on social media, and whoever follows us, if they want to comment on who they think the winner of the week is, that'd be great. I don't know how to clip it into YouTube, so good luck. But yeah, so I will put this on Instagram later and see if people vote on it. If not, then say love you, I guess. But all right, here are your theft of the week nominees. Right, you go for it. So we have a buddy of ours, a good friend, through coaching. He had a trick-or-treater steal not only the candy. Usually when people put out buckets of candy, kids, and I guess apparently now parents, have a tendency to steal candy. But this, I think it's a teenage boy, comes and steals not only the candy but the whole bucket. And I'm pretty sure, it's a piece of paper, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a note that says, please take one. Again, can't actually read the note, but this is funny. I do have that video, and I will put it on Instagram. Achilles tendons, taking players from us, specifically Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. And then this one's a good one. It's a two for really. John Gruden and Josh McDaniels making $80 million from the Raiders still. So go ahead. What do you think? Do you want me to like?
Yeah, the Achilles tendon was tough, obviously, because it robbed the Jets of what was a very promising season. At least on paper, it robbed the Jets of a promising season, but they're not doing horribly right now. And Zach Wilson's kind of working his way through it, but the defense is keeping them above water. So losing Aaron Rodgers specifically, and then Kirk Cousins, as the Minnesota Vikings were getting better or trying to find a stride, or at least competitive, that definitely delivered a blow to their season. But I would have to say that the $80 million of Gruden and McDaniels is probably the theft of the week, because it's well beyond Bobby Bonilla's trick or treating.
You see in the video though, right, of the teenager stealing not only the bucket but the note.
did.
I feel like that.
Well, it's classic because he walks right up and just kind of, without care, grabs the bucket, grabs the note, and says, "See you later."
Yeah, it is probably one of the funniest videos, and I obviously respect to our friend who not only I didn't even ask, apparently I probably should have, but I was just like, I'm going to use this on the podcast. He's like, I'll listen. I was like, cool. I was like nice, and didn't really fight me on it. So
There's a rash of those though, because last night I was showing you the one from that country singer where, I mean, mothers were coming up and like lifting up their hoodies and dropping stuff in there.
yeah, but they just stole the candy.
Yeah.
So and like, you know, for
But what a lesson for the kids that they were with.
yeah, and so obviously this didn't make the video because of the second video, but he posted another video saying or showing that there was like this kid. It was like smaller kids, obviously, but they start grabbing like fistfuls of candy from the bucket, and all I hear is like them screaming like throughout the name, bucket, bucket. It's like that's clutch. I remember being, you know, much younger, and obviously like, you know, you guys, you know, my mom and dad, they would the bucket of candy. So I can only imagine what that was like. Granted, like we live off like a major road. I'm not gonna say which one, obviously. Not that anybody who's listening doesn't already know, but like it was a shoot, like we only had like a certain like number of whatchamacallit, trick-or-treaters,
Yeah.
thank you. Growing up, it's a great we decided to do this early Friday morning instead of late Thursday night, because we figured that I could handle the lack of sleep or the early morning versus him
We'll
handling
have to rethink that.
late at night. Yeah, so like I said, we're all getting this together. All right, so let's jump into our topic one now that we've gone over after the week. Again, I'll post on social media. You guys can decide. Again, my vote would be for the Halloween, but you chose $80 million, which is huge. Which again, we'll touch on the Josh McDaniels thing a little bit more. You know, we'll get into World Series. We'll discuss World Series first. I think that's a good place to start, and probably make it real quick since we were only live podcast for what?
Well, we were done. We started after game 2.
Yeah, so 3 games of the season we were live for. So that's fun.
Yeah.
3 games of
It was
baseball
pretty
season.
quick.
Not only did I jinx the Arizona Diamondbacks by picking them and then picking them in 7, Corbin Carroll, I don't think did much of anything after I picked him as MVP.
Yeah.
Which this podcast may actually be jinxer, because although you picked the right team,
I also picked Garcia for the MVP.
and he went out the next game.
Yeah, so no more MVP selections.
Yeah, no. So, I mean...
Actually, Jalen Hurts for MVP.
I can't even say that as a joke. I don't want that. Well, again, football later, but yeah, Jalen Hurts. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, anything you want to cover on the World Series other than the fact that it happened? It was there.
Honestly, I was after an original podcast, I was looking forward to what I thought would be maybe the way it's set up after the first 2 games, like a barn burner, a true fall classic. You know, the first 2 games were obviously Texas came back and won game 1, and then Arizona wins game 2, and you're kind of, you know, they split it in Texas. You kind of looking for, okay, this could go game 7, obviously by our picks. But then Texas, I don't know what the heck happened there. They just turned the lights on for themselves and turned the lights out for Arizona. It was great for Bruce Bochy. I think this is his 4th World Series championship, and 3rd with one with 3 different teams. So obviously, I think he cements his Hall of Fame credentials there. Corey Seager ended up being the MVP, and this is his 2nd World Series MVP. So he was on fire throughout the entire playoffs, and I think proved to be a really solid investment for all the things that Texas did in the last couple postseasons to build their team up. He was probably the best investment. Certainly Jacob deGrom wasn't, but
wait, you can invest in your team? Somebody should probably tell Brian Cashman that.
Yes, exactly.
You spend money in Hal Steinbrenner. You go invest in your team. Maybe sign like somebody like who really was a Yankees fan growing up and wanted to be a Yankee, and then don't have a single conversation with him and let him go to the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, but you're speaking it like a true Yankee fan, spoiled from having had all those years of glory where they did invest, and also years of glory where they had the best closer in the business and the best closer in history in Mariano Rivera. So
Right.
Now you get the dose of reality of what everybody else deals with. Could be worse.
I'm just sad that we
Could be
won't
an
be
A's
able.
fan.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just sad that we, as a podcast, will not be able to see more World Series and more of the Banana Kids. I don't know if you know much about that, but in Arizona, there were three young boys that wore like the banana, like the whole banana like Halloween costume, and they were getting ripped apart because like people were yelling like get those kids from behind. They were sitting like in like the field level like suite, I guess that Arizona has.
Yeah.
Or no, that was in Texas because it ended in Arizona, so it was,
Okay.
it was in Texas. My apologies. But they were like sitting these field level, like right at like the pitcher's level, I guess, and they were trying to distract the pitcher. And people were like, "Get those kids out there! They're bad for the game." Like all the old, like you, all the old guys. So like, I'm just sad that we don't get to talk about them, and B talk about like how ridiculous some people are being. If the pitcher can't focus on the glove instead of like, there's people all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, at Yankee Stadium, you could literally see their pitcher level. They're just not in a suite. They sit right behind. I mean, they probably are. That's probably considered a suite. Yankee
Yeah,
Stadium.
as long as they're not sitting there with a laser pointing in the pitcher's eyes.
Yeah.
You know.
They're wearing a banana costume.
Right. Same thing in college basketball, especially at the end of each court. You know, at each end of the court behind the basket, you have all these people going crazy when you're trying to shoot a free throw. I mean, focus on the game.
Yeah, and then, college basketball is actually a great leaving point from the World Series. Once again, congratulations to the Texas Rangers. But we'll shift gears now. A little sad. I mean, obviously a lot of sad, but Bobby Knight passed away this last week.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. I know there's tons of probably the controversy surrounding him, but as basketball coaches, we've definitely taken a lot from him. He was a genius for what we did, and obviously you have a wealth of, is it firsthand knowledge? I guess firsthand knowledge because you saw his career. Secondhand knowledge.
I saw a chunk of it. Yeah, I mean, I was 13 when they led when he led Indiana to the undefeated season, the last undefeated season in college. So I can't say I was as tuned into basketball then as I was now, but I certainly knew who Bobby Knight was and what the accomplishment was. But yeah, I mean, passing of a legend, Bobby Knight, whether you love him or hate him, and I would say most people, at least from a basketball context, if you didn't have a strong emotional feeling about him, you could definitely respect his accomplishments. I mean, if you look at, his accomplishments during the 29 years he was at Indiana, he took the team to March Madness 24 times, and had 5 Final Fours and a couple national championships, and ended up being that one, and still the last one, undefeated season for Indiana. So he was a great coach, fiery for sure. Got on the kids, demanded a lot of them, which from being around me when growing up, I don't perceive that to be a problem. I mean, I don't agree necessarily with throwing chairs out on the court. As frustrating as it's been for me sometimes with officials. I mean, there's a time where you need to control yourself, but at the end of the day. And your uncle always used to ask me, would I let you play for Bobby Knight? And the answer is a resounding yes, because I think he did things to forge young men, their steel, taught them how to play as teams as opposed to the individuals that you see today a lot in sport, and had a lot of success with it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like you just hit it on it. Would you let your kid play for Bobby Knight? I obviously don't have kids, but and it's a different era now. Obviously, I think he coached in the right era. Not to mention, we wouldn't have great coaches like Coach K without him. But yeah, I mean, all the stuff aside, like the throwing of the chairs, I think he got like hit in Texas Tech because like he like hit the kid's chin and everything like that, right? Like
basically saying chin up.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what that conversation is, right? Like we talk about all the time, like sound bits on sidelines. Like you don't know what's said there, especially back then when there were no mics on the sidelines around the court or whatever like there are now. Like obviously the optics were bad, and that's ultimately what kind of like gave him his downfall. Let's just be happy that he's not coaching now. God forbid.
Well, yeah, this stuff wouldn't last now. I mean,
No.
you think of what he did at Texas Tech. I remember the story. It was in Sports Illustrated when he took over Texas Tech and was trying to elevate that program. And 2 kids had slept late and came to practice late. Oops.
Yeah.
And he basically told them both, I forget the exact numbers, but they had to do
He coached Carter them.
He had to do
Yeah.
1,000 push-ups, 1,000 suicides, and something out of whatever combination of things they were. And his son, Pat Knight, came to him. And Pat, coincidentally enough, I coached against, well, he was a player for New Hampton Prep, I think it was, when I was at Naps.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Pat comes to him and says, Dad, do you realize that's like 21 miles running? And he's like, yep. But getting back to the point, the two players had two different approaches. One player basically got started right away,
Yeah.
who was the less of the star, and then the star player basically left practice that day and called his mom. And this is a difference between today and yesterday, right? The mom said,
on the porch
you better start running.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, he did. So there's change in expectations and parent involvement and things like that for sure.
Yeah, no, Ryan, who's not a big movie fan, would kill me for not remembering his name. But that like the kid from, literally, I used to Coach Carter. Like the kid from Coach Carter.
Yeah, the Spanish kid.
Yeah. He plays so many high school level players during like that era of film.
Yeah.
Like,
What is your greatest fear?
yeah, he's but that's exactly the scene I think about when you told me that story so many times. But no, like he reminds me, like you've had the pleasure of coaching. I got some good coaches and players in your time at Naps. I've had the pleasure of being in a court with a lot of good coaches and growing up. But one of my favorites was a few AAU practices. I got to attend practices where legendary. Like, I mean, you got to emphasize legendary Danny Hurley Sr.
Bobby Hurley.
Bobby Hurley Sr. Wow.
Wow. No more legend for you.
No, that is no Bobby Hurley. You know, I was literally thinking,
Don't say Danny.
I was like, don't fuck that up. And I fucked it up. But yeah, no, Bobby Hurley Sr. Thank you. Wow. Yeah. No, I was there for his practice, and his were tough. Like, but like they were also the most rewarding. So I can only imagine players that played for him feel really rewarded.
Yeah.
You know, and not to jump ship too soon, but you know, especially with the college basketball season about to start, you know, you always got some good matchups. Our early season tournaments, Maui Invitational, you know, the NIT Invitational, I think it's called at MSG still, that they do early season, and then the NIT tip off, I think is what it's called, and of course the Champions Classic when you have Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, and Kansas all pairing up together.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll do something nice for him. I hope they do, at least. You know, again, ignore the controversy around him. He was a great coach. Yeah. He was the most winningest coach in NCAA basketball history until Coach K came and plowed it over.
Appropriately.
Yeah, yeah. The student has become the master type of deal.
Yeah.
That was Coach K. He was the right version of Anakin that we all wanted.
Yeah. My only negative on Coach K is that he went to West Point, but I'll forgive him for that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Navy household. You know, that's what we got to stick with. So we'll stick in the basketball realm. NBA started, and I just got to say, starting off the gate, because I know there's tons of stuff. The in-season tournament starting today. You know, we're not going to get too deep into it because, you know, I know people there. You follow loosely, which you're going to follow more because of the podcast, but. I'm sure you didn't see it, but Wembanyama.
I caught the highlights. He had 38 points on Phoenix.
Oh, okay. So you did. Okay, yeah. 38 points in what, his fourth game?
Yeah.
Like fourth real game of the NBA. Like he's the real deal. A lot of guys I think are you know, swing and misses or could be swing and misses coming from overseas. And we've seen it tons of times for as many Lucas and Dirks and whatever you want to say. Steve Nash is, although he's Canadian, that's not really overseas.
Tony Parker,
yeah, there's another one, but Manu Ginobili.
Yeah.
Again, not really overseas, from Argentina, but
international.
It is, yeah. No, I know, but like it's like neighbors basically. But yeah, they he is the real deal. Like God willing, he stays healthy. You know, he had like the same identical stat line that Tim Duncan. Now, probably in different ways. I think you mentioned like hitting the 3-pointers, but like I'm sure if there's an NBA player that if you ask the majority of NBA players, if you can mirror their career, beginning with their first career stat line, Tim Duncan would be on that list.
Yeah.
But not first. Obviously, Michael Jordan's probably first, or maybe even Russell. Bill Russell. I almost said Russell Westbrook. Like, no, nobody wants to mirror that
Drink
one.
some caffeine, man.
Yeah, I know it's killing me this morning. But, he's the real deal. 'Cause, you know, I know there's tons of stuff. The in-season tournament starting today. You know, we're not going to get too deep into it because, you know, I know people there. You follow loosely, which you're going to follow more because of the podcast. But yeah, no, he's the real deal.
Yeah, I think I think you hit the key point. If he stays healthy, health is going to be critical, and especially at 7'4", 7'5", you know, with big men. Although he's not structurally big like a Odom was when he first came in, but you worry about feet and knees with their bodies. But you know, if he continues to, if he's able to stay healthy through his career, his game is legit. It's real.
Yeah, he needs to go on that Shaq diet and gain like 300
What?
pounds.
Seafood, eat food.
Yeah. I think I saw a report where Shaq was like 400 pounds or something like that at one point in his career, like during 2000, during like the height of his career.
Yeah.
So, and like he didn't look, I mean, he's 7'1". I'm sorry, it's easy. Like, I mean, I'm probably on a
He was
little
a
bit
big
every
dude.
side.
Yeah.
So, like, I can hide like 260 easy.
Well, careful.
265, no, whatever. I can hide that.
Careful with the easy
265.
number.
Wow, thanks. Easier than some, but like Shaq, he was 400 pounds at 7'1",
Yeah.
and he was already like a big guy. Probably most of it in his head, you know. But like,
By the way, I said that wrong before. It should be seafood, eat food.
yeah, that was similar. Terrible. No, I'm sorry.
No,
that's
that's
Charles. That was Chuck. Terrible knucklehead. Yeah. So you want to give any predictions early? You want any idea on the in-season tournament? You want to comment on that, or just the fact?
So
that
actually,
it's
I saw the in-season tournament. This is the first year it's being done, right?
that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw a little clip from Richard Jefferson that was describing what the tournament was and the layout of it. And it's kind of interesting the way they're integrating regular season games into the early rounds of the early season tournament or in-season tournament. But it could create some interesting buzz. By the time you get to the Final Four and you're playing in Vegas and it's an isolated set of games, it could be pretty cool. So,
Yeah, so two things interesting from that. One, it makes, early season games matter for like those who care about the NBA Cup is what it's called. And
Yeah.
they've transformed all the courts to have like this cup on center court. I actually think it's terrible. I think part of the fun of like NBA courts is the uniqueness, having them all the same. It's kind of just like especially like when you go to the Celtics, TD Garden, and
Yeah.
you went to the old Garden. I've been to the I don't know if you've been to the new TD Garden.
I've not been
again.
to TD yet. No.
So I've been obviously being out there for school. It's pretty cool. Like it's not the same old feel that I can imagine you'd get from the old Garden, but like there's tons of history. Like in the court, like it's always been like the Celtics with the little leprechaun on it and everything like that. Now it's gonna be Boston with the cup on it. It's just like,
Yeah.
really? Like that's what you want to
Instead,
do?
it loses the personal touch.
Yeah,
a little
same
bit,
thing
yeah.
with MSG. It's called the Mecca for a reason, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the basic Knicks court. Like if anybody's gone to Hoop Group, like you see, that's like the closest that some people will ever get to playing on it. But like that, you get the feel, right? Like the Knicks. There's a reason why there's a Knicks court at Hoop Group. There's a reason why there's a Boston court at Hoop Group, because those courts are like synonymous with the NBA and like history, and like you basically just erased it by putting a cup in like the city.
Yeah.
So basically, New York, and actually, I think Brooklyn will have Brooklyn on it, which is just New York. Whatever. New Yorkers will all hate me for that, but yeah, it's just New York.
But it's pretty cool with the in-season format, like you talked about, and games mattering, quote unquote, for those who are interested, and it certainly gets eyeballs to the TV and engages the interest a little bit better. But the randomness of it too, the way they create the pools randomly, so you could end up with some of the top NBA final prospects in the same pool in this in-season tournament, and then have them battling it out and being eliminated early on in the game, in the tournament itself, which allows then for, and again, I have to get back into the NBA, but it allows for a lesser team maybe to rise and elevate their game in this tournament.
You're an up and coming team, get some momentum heading into the latter half of the season, where you're worried about playoffs and everything. Like a good team, like an up and coming team, like you said, like the Magic with Paolo Banchero, could really get some steam and like confidence by winning the cup.
Of course,
I don't know
you had
how
to
much
go to a
it does.
Dookie, didn't you?
Yeah, of course, I had to. But yeah, you want to give a prediction on the season? Who's going to win the NBA? Just blindly right now. We're like maybe 5 games into the season.
I mean, I'm on the wagon. I'll go Wembanyama and the Spurs.
Wow.
I'm going for the
last
reach.
to first, really. Like I don't think.
Well, David Robinson brought him from last to first in terms of finishing the season, number of wins. So why not the new generation?
Fair,
But I leave myself. I'll put an asterisk next to that. I leave myself the opportunity to change that in a couple of weeks once I'm watching.
We'll do like a mid-season. In mid-season is what, like March, I guess, for them, because they play till feels like forever. but yeah, we'll give ourselves till midseason and see how we do. So you went Spurs. It'd be so cool if the Knicks actually got their shit together and actually produced a good team. But
There are some organizations that will never get their shit together.
yeah, I'd love to see Zion get traded to the Knicks. Again, I went with a Dookie, but like him and RJ Barrett on the same team in New York would be phenomenal. But I'm gonna go back to back for the first time, I think, since the Lakers, and go with the Nuggets
You
again.
going with the Nugs?
Yeah.
See, that was a safe one. I thought of that right
Yeah.
away, but I was like, nah,
Safe.
shake it up.
I got integrity of the record here. I'm undefeated in all things. But by the way, we'll transition now because the NBA is still going. But yeah, I beat you in fantasy last week, 8-0. That's got to be good.
You're 8-0 in the league. You're not 8-0 against me in fantasy.
It doesn't matter.
Let's just make that record.
Okay,
straight.
that's fine. But 8-0. So we'll get into football talk. And I know I teased the NFL right there, but let's go college. Let's go because college takes place first on Saturday. Do you want to pick? We'll give our picks and then we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll go to the NFL. So what do you want to go here in terms of? Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'll
Jump
go
off.
first here. I'll
Yeah.
get my notes here real quick because I forget who I picked. Notes for the week here. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna start with. I'm actually gonna save that one. I'm gonna go with a safe one early. I'm gonna go Navy plays Temple this week at Lincoln Financial, which will be the day after. Which again, we didn't really think
Day
that through.
before.
We'll be there the day after.
Oh, we'll be there the day after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you said the
We'll
game.
be-
I thought you said the
we'll-
game.
We'll be there the day after. Which, if we thought it through, we could have gone to both. But we're gonna be at the Cowboys.
Well,
Eagles
I didn't
game.
do the planning for this weekend, by the way.
I can't do all the planning, but so I'm going to take the under 45.5. I feel like there's death taxes and unders in military academy games. It's like a surefire thing. So
I'm going to jump on that right away with you since you mentioned it because that was one of the games
Yeah.
I picked too, and I am not an under guy,
no,
but
unders.
I am actually suggesting the under will work at 45.5, and the reason is two reasons. Obviously, Navy's defense, for those of you who don't watch them, is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And they're very they're more senior laden. They have a lot of experience, and they hold a lot of teams that do well below expectations. So that's going to be component number one. And component number two, even though they're trying to move away from the true option type offense and the true pound and ground or ground and pound, they still do eat up a lot of clock. So I see that combination being problematic for Temple. And Navy should win the game. I don't know if it'll be by 7, but it will be under 45.5.
Yeah, I agree. I obviously, you and I watch a ton of Navy together. You being a graduate of the Naval Academy and having a long family history of Navy people on both sides, it's always fun to root for. It's like the one underdog in sports that I root for, so it is fun. All right, next I'm gonna go. I'm going to take, again, I agree with you. I don't like taking unders, but I'm going to take the over, and I think in a guaranteed lock in Bedlam, which is the last Bedlam matchup for the foreseeable future. And as a bonus, I'm going to take Oklahoma State +6 because I honestly think that they have more pride in the game, given the fact that it is Oklahoma that is leaving and going to the Big 12. Basically ending, virtually ending the rivalry.
Yeah.
So send them out the door. I think they're gonna, send them out the door with a loss type of thing. Like any coach would do. And then my final pick is gonna be it's a big one, but I believe in SEC schools versus non-power five. Again, I'm gonna get back on my Goliath train here, and I'm gonna say they're gonna squash David 99 times out of 100, and I'm going to say it's Tennessee minus 35.5.
Oh yeah, they were
versus
laying pretty
UConn.
heavy. Yeah, where are you?
Yeah, it's we're in.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was in
Again,
the
this
wrong
is what
page.
happens when we're using my phone for recording, and I have to use minus 35.5 against UConn, which is
So you
minus
expect
1
Tennessee to go in and just whoop them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think UConn's a very good football team. I don't think anybody thinks UConn's a very good football team. Probably not since
Well, UConn might think they're a good football
yeah.
team.
Whatchamacallit, when Aaron Hernandez's brother was there.
Yeah.
Who thought I'd reference Aaron Hernandez, right? Since his brother was there, I don't think they've been a pretty. Oh, maybe Dan Orlovsky. last time he was there, Mr. Step out of the end zone himself. But I think last time they were good as right around that generation, which is like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Maybe early 2000s, late 90s. So I think Tennessee's going to go in there, whoop them. I think it's also like kind of a statement game because Tennessee doesn't really have much to play for anymore this season. 2 losses. It is a 14 playoff, which we'll touch on their rankings in a second. But it's a 14 playoff, and then SEC championship games out, and they're gonna be playing fight up. They're just a much better team too.
Yeah.
I think UConn's independence now too, because I don't think they're in the AAC anymore.
Yeah, well, it's definitely an oversized matchup for sure. So, I shifted gears, actually, kind of staying within somewhat of a military theme. I'm looking at Texas A&M, who has played very well against some top ranked opponents in their season, and they are playing at number 10 Ole Miss, who's laying 3 at home against the Aggies, and I think the Aggies will certainly push Ole Miss, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled off that upset outright, Texas A&M. But to be it safe, I would take the Aggies plus the 3. And then my third pick is number 12 Missouri at the bullshit number 2 Bulldogs from Georgia. Georgia laying 15.5 points. It's a big number, but I believe Georgia will cover. I think they're going to be a little miffed that they were disrespected in the selection rankings, the selection committee rankings, dropping them to number 2 in spite of being undefeated and 2-time national champions back to back. So they'll be looking to make a statement, and the Tigers of Missouri will be the dog food. Get it? Dude.
Yeah. Dad joke of the week right there. No, yeah, I mean, you touched upon it. You consider it bullshit. I don't. I think based off of college football rankings came out. We'll cover the top 4. We'll cover the top 6 because that's generally speaking what a lot of sports talks do, and it'll make life easier that we don't get all 25. We can mention that Air Force dropped from the AP poll of 19 to college football playoff ranking of 25, which I think is disrespectful.
In spite of winning.
Yeah, disrespectful. But it's all right. We can die on the hill of military academies. Nobody will listen. But yeah, let's focus. So we had Ohio State coming at number 1, Georgia 2, Cheater University, which has gotten worse, by the way. Connor Stanley, not only being at games, but apparently being on sidelines, specifically Central Michigan sideline, wearing Central Michigan gear during the Michigan State game, which, again, we can talk about. And then you had Florida State at 4 with both Pac-12 teams, Washington and Oregon, coming at 5 and 6 respectively. You think it's bullshit. I don't. So go ahead, get it off your chest.
It's
shake our fist on the porch.
Buster Douglas didn't beat Mike Tyson because he happened to be the bigger guy or had more wins coming into it or whatever. Buster Douglas had to go out and beat Mike Tyson. He had to put him on the canvas and take the title from him. And Georgia is that 2-time back-to-back champion. They're undefeated this season. And granted, their early season schedule has been lighter, or I would say it's backloaded because they are still in the SEC and they do still have to play some big programs yet, including number 12 Missouri this week, who's a pretty good team. But I don't think you lose your position by winning. You know what I'm saying? They continue to win their games. It's like you said in our last podcast when we were both promoting Air Force. You have to play your schedule, and their schedule is what it is to this point, and it will definitely get stronger as it will this weekend. But Georgia should still be number 1, not Ohio State.
Yeah, I think my biggest argument to that is that Georgia's not Air Force. They can go pick up whoever they want. They can pay, instead of picking an FCS school or picking like a low-level Georgia Southern team or like whoever like your local Georgia team is, go fight
Kennesaw State.
Kennesaw State, that's who they played, yeah.
No, I'm saying that's a local Georgia team.
Yeah, you know. But go fight someone. Go pick up, Notre Dame, although they're not much of a school to beat anymore. Everybody does. That's my weekly
spoken like a true Navy
fan. But yeah, no, I don't know. Go pick somebody. I don't mind it so much. Ohio State has 2 top 10, wins against Penn State and Notre Dame. Again, that just brings joy to my heart saying that Notre Dame lost twice in a season. But and we're in November, Notre Dame fans. That's right. And then Michigan being 3 is fine. I think the NCAA is going to come down hard on them. I do think Harbaugh is going to leave before that.
The NCAA being the NCAA, they'll let the season play through.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, they'll vacate stuff, which,
Harbaugh,
which is crap. If this is really what it's or becoming or appears to be, then throw the hammer now. It's not fair to the kids, but throw the hammer now. Get Harbaugh out. Have somebody else coach them.
Well, I think that's why they are going so hard. Although, I mean, come on. Like, I love... There's one particular big Michigan fan who owns a podcasting company and sports blogging company who was so like, this is the Patriots all over again. People hate us because they hate us type of thing, right? Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But when this comes out that Connor Stallion, who's like, I don't know, he's CIA, MI6, whatever he is now, like FBI, he's on the sideline wearing Central Michigan gear. Like a coach.
Yeah.
Like, it was a Friday night game, too.
It's like Bobby Valentine with glasses and nose and the mustache.
Yeah.
In the dugout.
It was a Friday night game, so he probably had like a Michigan game the next day. Goes to Central, it's like, I got nothing to do. I'll throw on like a hat and like just walk on the sideline. And like, just like, what are you gaining from that you're not going to gain from anywhere else?
Yeah.
Like, can you not do the same from like a press box or...
Yeah, I think that the event itself of recording games is not a big deal to me, because from a basketball standpoint, we share video all the time, and you kind of see what your opponent is, and you make adjustments or see what your strengths are versus theirs and weaknesses, etc. But that part didn't bother me. But when you start to go to the level of having to disguise yourself, then that's a problem. Maybe
it was like an early Halloween thing for him. Maybe he was like trick or treat, and he chose trick. I don't have much else to say. I think the other than the discrepancy of where Ohio State is, I think they did a good job with top 6. Florida State's been playing phenomenal. I got nothing else. I mean, it's better than BCS. You gotta admit, like, the BCS was like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So, and then next year it's gonna be 12 teams, so it's really irrelevant. Although teams, I can't wait for the argument this year, because you already see articles about like, what the playoff would look like today if we had it. Like, you can already hear teams like that one year that LSU claimed that they won the national championship or split national championship with USC, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, we shared national championship. No, you didn't play in the national championship game. That 5 and 6 team where we're like, yeah, we were in the playoffs. Like, we should have been, or whoever wins their bowl games, and be like, yeah, we're ready for the next round. Like, I can't wait for that inevitable talk around December, January, when those New Year's Six games are going to be going off.
Well, all this isn't going to matter when Cheater U, as you call them, beats Ohio State anyway. So
it's not happening.
Sure, it is. And that's an ode to my mother, who went to Michigan for a year.
Yeah,
and used to sing "Hail to the Victors Valiant" all the time.
I don't know what it is. Michigan's just another one of those teams I can't stand. So like when the Cheater thing came out, like, I agree. I think I was all for like I even texted again. I'll bring up my cousin Ryan. I texted him because he's a football coach. I was like, what's the big deal about this? And he said like recording signs. Like, he was like comparing it to the Astros. I didn't quite see it that way, but I could understand it. But like, I didn't think it was that big of a deal either. And then the report that the NCAA comes out and says that they made a rule like in '94 that you can't do that anymore, which was basically to protect like the low income,
the people who can't go out in video games,
which is stupid now because college tuition. But we don't need to get into that. But colleges can afford to send their employees wherever they want, basically.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that. But now this came out, I'm just like, I'm all for ragging on Michigan.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to rag on Michigan, you can absolutely rag on Michigan, and you should rag on Michigan.
Yeah, the videotape component of it just doesn't bother me. And again, maybe it comes from the basketball side of things. I know when I was coaching with St. John Vianney, we would obviously get videotape of each other, of the different teams we're going to play. I actually sat there and studied tapes again, for example, Manasquan, where I was looking at, they were very good, very proficient on their inbounds plays. So I went through and studied all their inbounds plays, and you'd listen for what the name is, you'd see what the play was, who the person that we're most likely going to get the ball to, what option one was, and you coach against it. And then to the flip side of that, when I was coaching at home, though, we openly shared tapes. Like, all the coaches in our conference said, well, just share tapes. Instead of having to go hunt them down, just share them. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to execution. You have to be able to execute your stuff regardless.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, last year during state championship run team that I coached, we were, you know, me, head coach. We literally watch film. We try to break down signals. I went to a few whatchamacallit, short conference games, and I sat behind the bench. And I was trying to pick up, like, because some things you can't pick up on audio. I was trying to pick up words. We had the hand signals, like what's it called? Like, try to pick it up that way. And the coach saw me, like, he saw me behind the bench. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm here to recruit you." I'm not recruit you. I'm here to scout you. I'm here to recruit you. No,
nice. Will, he was recruiting other coaches.
No, I'm here to scout you. So, like, that's what it was, and a lot of coaches coaching at AAU for a while too. Like, you know all the coaches, coaching staffs. And I knew the assistant coach. In fact, one of the assistant coaches was an AD that hired both of us at the same high school. So like, talk to him for a little bit too. Like, looking forward
outside
to
of that too, coaching tendencies, especially if you've been like Jim Harbaugh. I don't think he has to guess what Day at Ohio State's going to do. Right? He knows basically the coaching tendencies. He knows the strengths of their team. He probably knows the kids they recruited and over the years and what their capabilities are. So it's not, that part's not that big a deal. It's the sneakiness, it's the clandestine.
Well, it begs the question, Dave. If you just said it, if they know that stuff and we were getting on a roll there and I cut you off with the sneakiness of it and like the undercover nature, like, why wasn't needed? Yeah. If you know somebody that well, and I can tell you why it was needed. Because Harbaugh lost to Ohio State every time.
Not last year.
No, up until 2 years ago. I think they won the last two.
Well,
but Connor Stallion joined the staff, like, I think 2-3 years ago, and he has like this whole.
So now we're giving him all the credit.
Oh,
for Harbaugh.
100%.
All right. So Harbaugh, who took a team to the NFL Super Bowl, all of a sudden can't coach.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. A team that had what's his face on.
I just told you that I hate Michigan and I'm willing to buy into it. Like, I wasn't at first, but now I'm leaning into it hard.
You've heard of Curb Your Enthusiasm. You need to curb your hatred.
You mentioned the NFL. It's a great jumping point to get into.
Yeah.
Let's start with it. Why not? Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels. It's like every time the Raiders like see a coach that they like, John Gruden, they get Josh McDaniels. It's a light at the end of the tunnel. The problem is, and this is a great like Star Wars meme out there nowadays, but it's like the light of the. You remember watching Rogue One?
Yeah.
You remember like the Darth Vader scene where it's like all smoky, then his lightsaber hits. It's like the meme is like everybody says, look for tough times, look for the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then the light at the end of the tunnel is that red lightsaber. Like, that's Raiders fans' eternal like, look, we got Josh McDaniels, yeah, let's go. and Troy Aikman, I love it. He like predicted it basically. Monday Night Football. He said he basically said it was the coaching staff without saying it was the coaching staff. He's like, this franchise was heading in the right direction. They had 10 wins. They were a playoff team. Rich Bisaccia was there. They hired Josh McDaniels, and they just haven't found their way. Basically saying like it's Josh McDaniels' fault.
Yeah.
So like, it's just funny way to go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think. Well, I'm going to save my comments on Josh McDaniels for something you're going to cover later. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I had a note on it. I think I erased it. I forget what it was, but it's just a funny way to go that he's supposed to be the savior. I don't want to get you too much into your segment. I don't know what you're going to say there, but it just befuddles me too. Some of the rich. Oh, that's what I want to say. Boom, hit it. If you talk long enough, people, it'll come to you. Trust me. One thing I do want to talk about the Raiders, and it's one of the worst takes in the history of takes, in my opinion. Greeny. I still don't understand to this day why ESPN chose to keep Greeny over Golick. Golick was so much better, but like, and that's no disrespect to Greeny.
Greeny's good.
He is, but like, I like
a different kind of good.
Right, we say like this podcast everyman type of stuff. Like, Golick was as everyman as you could possibly get while also playing in the NFL. But like, Greeny's take was, and I still don't understand as a Jets fan how he has the ability to have this take, but he was basically saying it's Mark Davis's fault and how he's turned the whole franchise into a joke, and that they've had like 12 coaches over 15 seasons, yada yada yada. Like, it's just a joke, and they should be embarrassed. And Mark Davis should be fired. First of all, Mark Davis also owns a ton of other stuff. Tom Brady just signed on with him. one of the things he owns is the Las Vegas Aces, who just won the WNBA Finals. Kelsey Plum, the star of that team, has come out and said how much he loves Mark Davis.
Years for the Aces?
Yeah,
yeah,
back-to-back championships.
Yeah.
And you have players like Kelsey Plum who trashed Josh McDaniels, by the way, because he wasn't invited to Darren Waller's and her wedding, and they traded Darren Waller I think the day after his wedding. So she's like, yeah, probably because somebody tweeted out like, what was it? It was like, I can't believe Josh McDaniels like traded Darren Waller like the day after his wedding. He has no love or like whatever. Like,
yeah.
And she's like, probably because he wasn't invited. Like that was her tweet back to this, which was an epic tweet. Or I don't even know what to call him anymore because it's called X, but it was a great X.
Epic X.
But yeah, like to blame the owner, and I know you love hating on Jerry Jones, but like you blaming owners is not the way to go. These guys pay, and again, they're billionaires for a reason, but they put so much money into these guys. They pay their salaries. Like, obviously, probably could have done things better. Like, they had a whole situation with Gruden, which was a mess. But like, if that didn't happen, who knows where they'd be? I don't know who's the decision maker, but maybe keeping Rich Bisaccia was the right idea. But you can't blame Mark Davis. Mark Davis wants to win just as much as anybody there.
Yeah, I go a little bit the opposite direction. Not that I'm blaming Mark Davis, but from there are owners who are too deeply involved in things. Al Davis was one of them. He was a fun-loving guy, loved to be out on the field and all that, but he tampered in the football operations too much, which in a lot of ways kept the Raiders from being probably the dynasty they could have been. The same is true with Jerry Jones, in my opinion. He's done a lot of great things for the Cowboys and the Cowboys organization, and that stadium is incredible. But he can't keep his hands out of the cookie jar. And it disrupts a lot of really positive things, a la Jimmy Johnson. I mean, if you're a captain of the ship, you can't drive it. You can't be the engineer. You can't be the weapons systems officer. You can't do everything on that ship. Part of it is knowing how to delegate the authority and trust the people you delegate it to. And that's where Jerry Jones, I think, runs amok. And so I don't know Mark Davis well enough, but I do think things needed to change in the Raiders organization. So not only getting rid of McDaniels, they got rid of the GM as well. And Davante Adams has already come out and said that we needed to change it up. So
yeah,
obviously it wasn't Davante Adams.
No. Definitely not. But all right, you mentioned change a few times. You mentioned Jerry Jones. Trade deadline passed.
Yeah.
Cowboys did nothing, which I'm okay with. I think they made their deals at the beginning of the season. Stephon Gilmore. You don't expect Trayvon Diggs to go out, but you have Darren Bland.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think the only thing they could have done really would have been around running back, and not as a slight to Tony Pollard. I love him, as you know, but I
need
think
a bruiser.
So either a Dalvin Cook or better yet, a Derrick Henry.
If we got King Henry,
yeah.
I put out a thing out there on one of the sports apps where I commented in like a community about getting Derrick Henry, and at the beginning of the season I would have traded a like 3rd round pick with a condition of being a 1st round pick if the Cowboys ended up winning the Super Bowl. Like, if you win the Super Bowl, the pick becomes the 1st round. Like, I would have done that in a heartbeat just because I think Derrick Henry would have. I love Tony Pollard too. Such a dynamic 1-2 punch would be like the size. And we talked about it last night while watching the game, which the Titans ended up losing, by the way.
Yeah, they did.
Steelers, Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett can keep their job another week. But
Steelers are 5-3.
Yeah, that's why I said they can keep their job another week. 4-4 is a huge difference between 5 and 3. But Derrick Henry, literally his size gives him an extra yard. He falls forward every time. He's 6 foot whatever. Like, he falls forward, he gains an extra yard. He literally got tackled at the 2, full extension of his body, scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, he's a bruiser. He's great. And again, not a slight to Tony Pollard, because Pollard's great, but part of what made Pollard great was having Zeke Elliott on the team. And Zeke is not a punishing runner anymore, but he was punishing enough that it was a change of pace, and you could get Pollard out and do some funner things. Or when he came in to be the lead back, he would be harder. The defense would have to adjust to his skill sets.
Funner, huh? Funner, huh?
Fun.
You said funner things.
I said harder.
No, before you said you could do funner things with Tony Pollard.
Oh, well, yeah, funner. Yeah, he could do funner.
That's an English major for you folks.
I didn't know I said that. More fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Although, did you know that teams were calling in on Zeke? I wonder if the Cowboys were one of those teams. Just like, hey, like, what would it cost to get Zeke back? Like, we'll give you,
I could see them doing that at a reduced cost to just have him back as a Cowboy too. You know,
we'll give you season tickets to. Is that what you think? Like, hey, Bill, like, we don't win Super Bowl. Like, you can come coach us. Like,
no,
you give us
no.
But no, who do you think won the trade deadline in that case? We'll just hit that. There's so many, like, NFL is not like the NBA.
Well, I can tell you
It's not
who
like Major
lost. Who
Oh,
lost?
who lost? Go ahead.
Is the Redskins or the Commanders when they give away two premier defensive linemen in Chase Young and Sweat. I'm like, holy cow!
Even on a contract year, at least they got something for them. I don't disagree with
They
you.
got some things
That's
for
fair.
them, but that defense was shaping up to be pretty good. And the
Right,
problems
right.
for the Commanders wasn't on the defensive side of the ball. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
No, that's true. I've always said, and years, like, you can attest to this because we're starting, midway through the season, this podcast. But at the beginning of the season, talking to family, I always said, like, don't sleep on don't sleep on the Redskins. Don't sleep on the Commies. They're a sneaky team. Their defense is good. I think they'll finish better than the Giants. That was my take at the beginning of the year. I'm still going to say they finished above the Giants. But their
They
defense, yeah, their defense is not as nearly good. You lose two premier defensive rushers. I mean, Chase Young still has his whole career. He's only played really like a year and a half. And
Yeah.
He's been hurt, unfortunately, most of his career.
Yeah.
Which I guess is why you trade him for something. But that leads to my, like, who won is the Niners.
Yeah, I mean the Niners got better, and that's scary.
Yeah, especially as, NFC fans,
Yeah.
Cowboy fans, like, we're most likely going to see them at some point
Yeah,
again. God help us, because that was ugly the first time around. I believe in Dak and the Cowboys, so I don't think it'll be the same thing. But it's reminiscent of that Giants defense, and I think it was 2011. And I hate saying that. I hate giving the Giants any credit whatsoever because if our cousins listen to this, I know I'm gonna get text messages like, "Oh, you really like the Giants, Super Bowl Giants, Eli Manning, yeah." No, but their NASCAR package, right? That's what, like, Steve Spagnuolo had on their defense when you had, like, Michael Strahan, Ewan Yora, like that, that defensive line, like,
yeah.
unbelievable. Young Justin Tucker,
Yeah.
like, they're not Justin Tucker.
No, he's a kicker.
Tuck. Is it Justin Tuck? Whatever. Justin
Tuck
Tucker,
was
yeah.
the last name. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget his first name. But such a good defense, and they just, they lined him up wherever. Strahan was inside, outside, and he was old at that point. So, like, that was his last year. He retired. But like, what they did with that defense is much what, like, Dan Quinn likes to do on third downs. Like, if you watch the Cowboys, they all stand up. And I've noticed that, like, T.J. Watt last night was all over the place. He was standing up. He was in the middle. He was like, you can do that with all of them. I mean, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, Nick Bosa.
Makes it harder to audible at the line as to what's going on.
Right. And that's just their front line.
Yeah.
When you had Fred Warner, like, the best linebacker since, I think, Patrick Willis probably, which also was a fantastic Niner. Like, those two guys, unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable that defense is that good. I mean, their secondary I don't think is that good, but they don't need to be that good as that Giants team was.
You could probably cover if
Yeah.
if you had that first 7 guys in front of you.
Right, again, that 2011 Giants defense, I don't think their secondary was that good, but when you have, like, a second to get rid of the football as a quarterback,
Yep.
forget about it.
Yeah. I agree. No, I agree. They definitely are the winner of the match. They win because the Redskins lost.
Yeah. No, I don't necessarily buy into the Redskins losing. I do think losing 2 defensive ends they didn't need to,
Yeah.
but they chose to. I think that'll hurt, but ultimately, I just see the Niners as clear winners. I think the Eagles made some interesting moves. They got rid of a defensive tackle after, like, having a pretty solid, like, depth. They got Kevin Byard, which I always think helps secondary, but
Which is their weak spot. Their Achilles heel is their secondary.
right, yeah. Oh wow, really they're leaning on the Achilles injuries. Rip Kirk Cousins.
Sorry, Aaron.
No, yeah, that's wow. That's assault, I think is what they call it. But no, yeah. It's it's going to be interesting. A lot of half the season, like I said, not a lot of splashy trades. Not the NBA. It's not Major League Baseball. I don't know.
Rarely are they impactful,
Yeah.
but I do agree with you. I think the add of Young to the Niners could be impactful.
Yeah, I've always liked Chase Young, Ohio State guy. Again, I don't know why I like Ohio State so much. I just do.
Because you hate Michigan.
Yeah, probably.
It's the
Like
counterbalance.
randomly hate Michigan. All right, yeah, like we have a lot of fun game slate this week, I should say. A lot of rookie quarterbacks starting. I think in my notes I put it's going to be like a parent weekend out of college. Like you're going to see like all these games, and we'll probably see it because it's a Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. We're gonna have to see like the camera pan to the parents, and like this is so and so's parent. This is Tyler, like they did with Tyler Badgett, right? Tyler Badgett's parent, like his dad was on like NFL Network all week leading up to it.
Yeah.
Who apparently is a 28-time like arm wrestling champion.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he he challenged like an NFL Network guy and like just absolutely killed him.
Yeah.
So like it's
arm wrestling's technique and leverage, so as much as it is your strength. But
I love the technicality that you just got into about arm wrestling, not the fact that they interviewed a parent on NFL Network who's like a football coach in his own right, and like he set it up. He had like one of those tackling pads on the garbage can and just like let's do
let's
it.
go.
Yeah. The guy had like 2 arms trying to pull. He was like a kid like trying to pull his arm, and it was embarrassing for him. Although it made for great TV, I guess. But yeah, parent weekend in the NFL. A lot of rookie starters, due to a lot of injuries. We're gonna get Danny DeVito again for the Giants. So I guess like the premier quarterback matchup is gonna be the Cowboy Eagle game. You're gonna get Jalen Hurts versus Dak Prescott.
Well, don't forget Miami, Kansas City.
I did forget about that.
You got Tua and Mahomes.
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple of really key games. And that one's in Germany, I think. Right?
Yeah, 9:30 game.
Yeah.
Frankfurt, Germany. Check that out.
Yeah.
First Germany game, I think, of... Oh, no, they had one.
This year. They had
this
one
year. They
last
had one.
year,
Yeah, the Bucks.
Yeah.
I forgot Tom Brady.
Yep.
Back when he was kind of married to Giselle, right? Went
Who
home.
knows?
Yeah. So let's dive into it, I guess. We'll pick some games.
Okay.
I went first for college, so you can go first for the NFL. We'll leave the Cowboy game for last since we both picked it.
Okay.
Hit us with your picks.
So, my picks for this week in the NFL, I started with the Seahawks at the Ravens laying 6. I think that's too much for this game. And Seattle has proven to be a tough out or extremely competitive, which just chaps my butt because I'm not a Pete Carroll fan, as you know. And I guess I have to give him credit because no matter what his lineup is, he always seems to be competitive. So it pains me to give him credit, but I think the Seahawks, they may not win, but they will cover.
Real quick note on that. Do you think Pete Carroll's a better coach because how Russell Wilson has been in Denver and how Geno Smith's been in, like, they were like complete opposites. Geno Smith was a terrible quarterback everywhere else except for Seattle.
Yeah.
Terrible. Except for West Virginia, obviously, where he came from. And then Russell Wilson was a stud quarterback in Seattle. Granted, if you buy into Sean Payton's theory, Gene Hackett had like one of the worst head coaching, jobs or he did one of the worst head coaching jobs in NFL history, which I don't know if that's exactly true because Zach Wilson's looked pretty good under his offensive tutelage.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton's not really done much better in Denver. So do you think like Pete Carroll's a better coach due to the fact that these quarterbacks are like having, or is it just Russell Wilson's getting old and Geno Smith finally found his stride?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I do think Russell Wilson, Mother Nature catches people differently. Obviously, Tom Brady, who played till he's 92, Mother Nature was kinder to her. He was able to kind of survive whatever challenges there were. Plus, he wasn't very mobile, and when things came about that it looked like the pocket was going to collapse, so did Tom Brady, therefore missing the big hits. Russell Wilson was sometimes running for his life, sometimes relying on us. So I think Mother Nature kind of caught up to him quicker. I do think Carroll has a more complete system in the Seattle organization. So he's very much a player's coach, and so all the players kind of fit in, buy in, and all that kind of stuff. So I do think there's a benefit there, and that's probably why Geno Smith feels more comfortable to be himself.
He does seem like a player's guy. That is very true.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So anyway, second game, I am going to travel out to Germany for the Dolphins at Kansas City. I didn't know there was a Kansas City, Germany.
You gotta. We can talk about that on a later date, but you gotta imagine losing out. I guess you're not literally losing a game. I think I had this discussion with you know, one of my cousins once about losing a home game. You're not really losing one because there's now 17 games in a season, but you're still losing revenue stream by not having
Yeah.
that game.
They don't care about the players. Don't care about that though.
Yeah, no, owners do. Though.
Yeah. From a home game perspective, of course, players care about the money side of it, but anyway, the over under in that game is 51, and I would say take the over. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be fired up and looking to prove something, especially after the embarrassing loss to Denver, and Mahomes flew or not, they didn't look good. You have Mahomes.
Plus, Taylor Swift wasn't there, so Kelsey wouldn't.
I promised not to talk about her. Remember, I broke up with her last time. So, and you have Mahomes and Tua. They're going to be slinging the ball all over the field. Of course, Dolphins have that track meet. The track team that they play with. So, I see the game being around a 31-28 or 35-31 game. So definitely take the over on that one. And then the third game I have is Chargers at the Jets. Jets plus 3.5. I think Jets here are going to be able to keep pace with AFC East with a big home win versus the Chargers. The Jets D continues to do enough to keep them in games, and Zach Wilson is due for a pop-off game. The last couple of years he's had one of those where he just goes crazy, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's here!" And so I think he's due for that. It could happen this weekend. So both will happen on Monday night, and the Jets will improve to 5-3. So take the Jets and keep the points.
All right, Jets, Jets, baby. Yeah, I can already tell you without looking at my notes that I went opposite with you one way, and it was Kansas City, Miami. I took the under. I hate taking unders too, but this is the second under I've taken today. I don't know. There's something about international games. I don't know the exact stats, but they always seem low scoring. And whether it's because, it's typically like rainy and damp in Europe. I've never been to Germany, so I can't speak for that. But it just seems like teams, and also you're playing at 9:30 in the morning, which I know is later in the afternoon over there, but like it's still internal clock's got to mess with you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, I think Sunday we turned the clock ahead, so we turned the clock. Yeah, we
fall
turned
back.
the clock ahead.
Fall back. So
Fall
you
back.
gain an hour.
Yeah, we gain an hour,
which could help them. They get an extra hour
Yeah.
of sleep.
So yeah, I'm sorry, we turned it back. So yeah, like that's that. It could, I guess. I don't know. Plus, does Europe have daylight savings time over there? I don't even know.
I don't know. I think it's just. I don't know. Honestly, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, this is a Everman's podcast where we're not educated on that type of stuff.
We're U.S. centric.
Yeah, which is why we don't talk about soccer. Soccer. I'm just kidding. Probably lost.
So you're going under.
Yeah, I'm taking the under there, under 51. I think both teams will struggle a little bit. And again, depending on, I know you don't like saying it, but that's going to be up there every single time Kelsey's under 100 yards. Every single time.
Yeah.
Which is going to change because the average is it was 44.5. Heading into last week's game, he put up 50-something yards. So by the time it comes to like week 17 and Taylor Swift isn't there, it's going to be like when Taylor Swift's there, like 110 yards. When Taylor Swift's not there, 90 yards.
I already
He
know the
needs Taylor
title to
Swift.
the next song. You can't do it without me.
Yeah, right. And literally as the session goes out, then I went Bills money line. I think the Bills are going to do for a bounce back game too. I think they can't keep on losing. It's going to be a very emotional game. They're in Cincinnati, DeMar Hamlin situation. I think they're going to be fired up. Plus, not to mention one of the Bengals players came out and said how they're additionally fired up because one of the I forget who said it was like one of the Bills players said they would have won if it wasn't snowing, so we're gonna go there and hey no, I'm like okay, why talk?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. But Cincinnati's actually starting to put some stuff together. That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I agree. Joe Burrow's finally healthy, so it'll be good. Minus his calf injury, that was like for 3 weeks. So hey, you got something good out of it. And we actually took 2 games are the same. We took the Jets. I took Jets plus 3.5. Figured the points are going to be good there.
So you're taking the points on that one.
Oh yeah.
I'm winning outright.
Yeah, you said keep the points.
That's
I said
right.
no way.
That's right, baby.
No,
J-E-T-S.
The line wasn't enough for me not to take.
Yeah.
So like it was just like why chase the money there. And then we can get into the Cowboys. I actually, speaking of chasing, I said the same thing for the Cowboys. I said the Eagles could keep the points. I think Dak Prescott has like I think only 2 losses against the Eagles in his career, and one of the games that he quote unquote had a loss for, he only played like 2 minutes of because it was like at the end of the season or something like that,
Yeah.
or he was hurt, or I forget exactly what the line is, but he's an impeccable record against the NFC East, impeccable record against the Eagles. He played probably the best game of his life last week, which probably indicates like a come back down to earth game, but like I don't know. I feel like it's a different Dak Prescott. I think no Zeke Elliott. I think he's all business. I think he's ready to go. And Cowboys money line for sure. Plus, we're gonna be at the game, and I would love it so much to see Eagle fans cry. We probably have to duck as we're like bobbing and weaving bottles being thrown at us. But like,
I'll be sipping a beer and eating a pretzel and being a calm Cowboy fan at the game. No sense in drawing attention unnecessarily. But I do think the Cowboys will win. It is going to be a lot on Dak's shoulders to not manufacture the win, but control the tempo, because he can't try and do too much. When Dak plays within himself, I think he does really well. When he uses his legs a little bit, not crazy, but when he uses his legs to get out of trouble and not stand in the pocket and try to make some miracle happen, he does a lot better. And as long as he's not missing high across the field or midfield,
which he hasn't in a while. I'll say that in the last 2 games.
No, in the last game in particular, he threw a ball a little high, but it was perfect in terms of the
where it needed to be.
Yeah,
Ferguson's touchdown is what you're talking about.
Fergie went up to get it.
Which is my bonus pick of the week too, by the way.
That's it.
First touchdown scorer, Jake Ferguson.
Really?
Is that plus 1,500? Why not?
Okay.
We took that. I took that bet last year with with Ryan and JP at the Giants game that I went to with them, and we had a nice parlay, and it did not hit. Or no, I think it was anytime. It was an anytime touchdown score for Jake Ferguson, and it did not hit. He was very close, and it went to like P and Hendershot or something like that. I was like,
Yeah, but I do think the Cowboys win. It's not a true must win.
Yeah.
Obviously, because there's a lot of season left, but I think a must win in the sense of setting yourself up for the NFC East and for the playoff structure. You need this win against Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, yeah. Pick segment, I think, is over. We have one new segment. Well, actually, this is the second segment that I'm going to throw out there, and it's going to be called Doghouse Penthouse. Obviously, coaches, they do have dog houses, no matter how much you would like to say that they do or don't. Like if you do something wrong, well, not wrong, you don't want to like put too much negative out there for players, but like if there's like a compounding issue, like I think we could think of like a few players that like just compounded issues, like doghouse, like you're not going to trust them in like crunch time situations. They may sit on the bench, whatever. And there's really no coach opposite for doghouse, so we just went penthouse. We shopped that one around for like a little bit. We went Sweet Life for a little bit. That did not hit well. Although I'm sure like Disney fans out there are upset that we didn't go Sweet Life. Sweet Life, Zach and Cody. You're too old to get that.
No,
reference.
I'm not a Disney person, so has nothing to do with age.
Yeah, no,
I love Aladdin.
True, but that's literally 1992.
But it's Disney.
Yeah, you're old.
Plus, I weaned you on it.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, Doghouse, Penthouse. I'll go first because it seems like you have one on that you want to talk about. So mine are, let's see, the Doghouse. I'm going to have. Oh, that's not my notes. This is my notes. The Doghouse. I'm going to have the Avenji Dadanov trade fiasco. I know you have no idea who that is.
Did you just speak English?
I did.
Avenji Dadanov?
Yeah, I'm sure that's.
It sounds like some kind of baby between Marvels or something. Avenji Dadanov?
It's a, I don't know what country of origin he is. He's a hockey player, so you can only imagine he's like some like Eastern European or.
You think?
Yeah. Or like some weird mashup of Canadian. No, but yeah, so he was an Ottawa Senator that got traded to the Vegas Knights, and through that trade, I guess the Senators didn't relay his no trade list. Like, he had a no trade clause, and certain teams were on that list, and on that team with the Anaheim Ducks, they did not give that list to, the Vegas Knights last season when they traded him to the Knights. And I guess because you need to submit a list by a certain date in the NHL, he didn't submit it again to the Knights, which I don't know why that's not on the player, but we're going to blame the Senators for it, which the NHL did. They took a first-round pick from the Senators. But the Knights then obviously tried trading him to the Ducks. It got invalidated because of this no-trade clause. and or no trade list, whatever you want to say, and he had to stick with the Knights, which won the Stanley Cup. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's a champion. So it worked out well for him. But again, and now he's not on either team.
So he's a Benji No Daddy now.
No, he's on like the Canadians or something like that. I
Okay.
forget where he is. But yeah, it's such a fiasco, like
Yeah.
such a trade fiasco. It had to be in the doghouse. So really not Avenging Dadanoff, but the Ottawa Senators are in the doghouse.
Gotcha.
And then for my penthouse, I went with the state of Texas. I mean, you gotta, if you're a Texan, no
Yeah.
matter where you are, I mean, you may hate the Astros. I know I do. But the Astros won the World Series last year. Texas won this year. You got the Cowboys doing well. You know, obviously, back-to-back 12-win seasons with Mike McCarthy. Heading in the right direction. This is a big game this weekend.
University of Texas won the Manning Bowl.
Yeah. You not only that, but you beat Alabama.
Yeah.
So like, there's University, hook 'em horns for those Texas fans out there. And then of course you have Luka Doncic to look forward to now in the NBA. You got Kyrie Irving, which for all his woes, he's still a fantastic NBA player. And then we'll throw some love to the Stars. Why not? Got Stars coming, so that's their
They're on a roll.
Yeah.
The state of Texas.
Yeah,
is on a roll.
sure.
Okay.
That's their hockey team, by the way. Stars, not understanding Stars.
I knew that.
People.
I did know that.
Sure. All right, go ahead. What's yours?
So my doghouse is actually Josh McDaniel.
Shocker.
Yeah.
You
and
set that up so perfectly. You're like,
he's-
we're gonna talk about him.
Yeah,
later.
we're going to talk about him later. So yeah, some assistant coaches are better off just staying assistant coaches.
Couldn't agree more.
And I
Not this
think
one.
I think of like Richie Pettibone back in this is probably before you were born, but phenomenal defensive coordinator. He comes out to be a head coach and he can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. So Josh McDaniel to me is in the doghouse. I mean, go back to New England, wait for Belichick to retire, and maybe the Patriots, Robert Kraft will hire you as a head coach, but I doubt that even because I think there's a better expatriate in the wings for that job. But Mike Vrabel for sure. So, and out of the doghouse comes a question. I don't know that Josh McDaniel will ever get a head coaching job again. He's not good at being a head coach.
Maybe that's why Dan Quinn stays at Dallas, because he just realizes maybe he doesn't like being a head coach, so being a coordinator is better. Plus, everybody loves Dan Quinn, and there's always trash about Mike McCarthy. Always.
Yeah, and I mean, I would even go one step further in this doghouse category is, I might even put this on Bill Belichick, because which Bill Belichick assistant coach has ever been a good head coach?
Well, it's like Parcells never won a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's never won a Super Bowl without Josh McDaniels. So maybe like two people,
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
But I mean, you go down a list. I mean, Romeo Cornell, Charlie Weiss. I mean, anybody who's been an assistant coach to Belichick, who's tried to, and even his what's the current defensive coordinator? I forget his name. The guy always had the pencil in his ear.
Oh, that's his son.
No, not his son. The
old one, Matt Patricia.
Patricia,
yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, who went
He's
on to be
terrible.
the Lions head coach. But any one of the people that have stepped out from under Belichick to be a head coach have not done well. Their record stinks. And so some of that is, as a head coach, are you doing the right thing to build the people
It's
under
not
you?
his job.
Any leader, that's your job. I disagree with that. Any leader, it's
For
your
the players,
job to
for the
make
players,
people
it's not your
better.
job to make another coach better.
I disagree with that. So I mean, so Josh McDaniel's doghouse, and then I'm gonna
Also, my
I'm
stat
gonna,
was wrong, by the way, because Bill Belichick's definitely won a Super Bowl without Josh McDaniels. You did not catch that at all, but that's okay.
I believe it. I would believe it. So yeah, Josh McDaniels, and then I would throw a / Bill Belichick in there. The penthouse for me is Corey Seager, second World Series MVP, leads the Texans to their first World Series championship. And I just think, again, at the end of the day, although it was a pretty big investment at $300-some-odd million, it's already paid dividends for the Rangers organization.
Yeah, so rubbing in the fact that teams invest in other teams as a Yankee fan.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks.
Any chance I get.
And then, that's that's a good one. Like I said, State of Texas continuing to win. I think they did a good job. I think what episode 2, we're winding down. It's a little long. We'll try to cut it down in the future. We're just still figuring it out. We're actually together now, so that's fun. We got equipment kind of that's working, so like that'll be fun figuring that all out. And then the last new thing we're gonna do is we're gonna end each episode with an obscure sports stat, which I have on for today. Today, November 3rd, This day in 1989, Lou Piniella is named manager of the Cincinnati Reds, replacing Pete Rose, who was banned for life for gambling on MLB games. And thank you for listening.
Have a great day.
Want to hit the stop record thing? But I don't know if you noticed, but I was hitting this mute button like whenever I would